So in this face recognition system that we're going to build, I've downloaded some images here, which I'm going to show you. And this is the image you've already seen this when we started our tutorial. This, my image, I'm going to use it to compare with this image to see if they are the same pictures or if it's the same person. And also we have Elon here. So I'll tell you here, let me see how I can compare Elon, compare Michael B. Jordan with my picture over here. And this is Michael B. Jordan. You already know who this guy is. And this is Elon Musk. And the next person is Ronaldo. We have Ronaldo 1. So I'll also try to see how I can save Ronaldo's information like embeddings. Embedding is what we actually use for face recognition. So I'll save his embedding in form of database, but we're going to use JSON as a virtual database. And this is original, the one we're going to save. We'll save these, then we'll use this to actually compare. And that's Ronaldo. And also we have Mercy here. So these are the images we're going to use in this project. Trust me, it's going to be quite intuitive and interesting. It's practical based. So what do we need to do next? I would love to introduce you to the documentation. If you've not come across this documentation before, read it, go through it. If you have any challenge, drop in the comment section, ask me, and I'll explain all the underlying concepts and patterns to you. Nevertheless, I'm still going to explain many other things which you need to understand and you need to understand about face recognition. So this is it. The version is 1.3, and that's what we're going to use. And you can see it here, face recognition, recognize and manipulate faces from Python or from the command line. So we are going to use the command line. We're going to build a full stack application, but I know fully well if you want to build a full stack application with what I'm going to show you so far, it will be very easy for you. All you need is just the API and the front end to actually interact with the API, and that's all. So without further ado, let's jump into the code. The first thing we need to do is to actually create a file called face. I wouldn't want to use face. Please do not use face recognition, else you're gonna have issue with the library. So I'll use x face recognition.py. I hope I'm correct. Yes, that definition is correct, or the name is correct. And I would love to create a file called database.json. So we're just going to use JSON as a database to actually simplify the whole process instead of going to use Postgres or MySQL or even MongoDB. So we'll try to use JSON here. And what we need to do is that first thing, obviously, we're going to import our CV2, and we'll also import our face recognition, which we've installed. I showed you the command line to actually install it, and if you want to install, you can jump up and install it. So what do we need next? There are other libraries which we're going to work with, like NumPy. We're going to work with NumPy, work with JSON, and work with one other library. Those are the ones I can actually remember. But as we progress, I'll import those libraries when we need to use them, so you see how they are being used effectively and efficiently. So next thing we need to do is to say I'm going to use men, and yeah, I would love to print here, welcome to X face recognition, and that's it. So I'll say that if underscore name underscore equal to underscore main underscore, and now our main is gonna run, and that's it. So basically this is just to run this. Whenever we run the terminal, it's gonna run this function here. This will be the main function. That's it. So what I want to do is that there are other things I would like to ask the user before we proceed to any other thing and get to know his or her choice. So I would love to make that a function. I'll say that print. What do we want to do here? Say print menu. And the print menu will actually print this for us. And let me do this. And that's next line. I'll say, what would you like to do? And that's a question. So I'm going to say print. The first one is verify a user. So that's when we verify the user from the existing user we have in our database. We try to verify with the user's image. We are not using name, we're not using ID, we're using image to image verification. And behind the scene, what works is embedding. So what we need to ask next is the second one would be add new user. Add new user to the database, and the last one will be end the program. Sorry, this is 3, and that's end the program. That's it. So we need to bring that here and say that our print menu is going to be here. Sorry, print menu will be here. But before then, what's a database? A database is equal to, that's a mistake. Database is equal to database database.json. I believe that's correct. So that's our database.json. What else do we need? We need the users. So I'll say that users is equals to fetch user. So we're going to fetch the user from our virtual database, which is JSON. So what do we need to pass? We need to pass the database name itself from, we're fetching users from database. So that's it. So let's just create this. So I'm going to come up here and say that function is database is here, and now we are going to read. We are not actually writing, so we are fetching its read. And what we need to do with read is that we're going to say that try catch, try block, and except. In Python we use except. So I'm going to say that I would say that file not found, and that's why I need to import JSON. So I'll say import JSON. I'll use JSON here, JSON.JSON error. And if we have error, if we encounter error, I just want to return an empty list, so you know what this means, an empty array. If there is no user, we'll get an empty array. Otherwise, if we can find a user, what are we going to do? Say with open. So let's try and see how we can get the data from the database, that's from JSON. So I'm going to say that it's actually read. I want to read, so I'll say file, and what I need to do next is that I would say that my data is equal to json.load, loading the file, and that's it. So that's our data, and I'm going to return data dot user. Am I returning user? I think I'm returning data dot user, yeah. Yes, I'm returning data dot user. Sorry, users. So that's it. What we need to move is just to move next to a while loop. We're going to create a while loop here, and a while loop will be true. And sorry, the print menu is supposed to be in the while loop. So I'm going to say print menu will be here, and I'll ask the choice of the user, which is the choice of the user is input, enter your choice. Sorry, enter your choice. That is 1, 2, or 3. So that's what we expect. And if the user's choice is equal to 1, if the user's choice is equal to 1, then we are going to load the data. So I'll say that my response, so we are going to verify the user. That's what the one does. So before then, we can't verify user without having the user being saved. So let's just leave that first and say that elif choice is equal to 2, and that's where we actually create, or we add a new user. And to do that, what we need to do is that we need some fields from the user. So what we need is that first one we need is we need a name from the user, which is inputs, and that'll be name. Enter name, because might not be the person that is doing this. And also say that we need bar details. So bar is equals to inputs, enter bar details. And the next one is going to be the file name, that's for the image. So inputs. So we are basically enter image. We are basically using command line. Everything you're doing is in terminal. We were to build this in a full-grown web application or full stack, we wouldn't be using this. We would actually get our image from the front end when it's uploaded by the user or the admin, and now sent to an API using fast API, the Django, Flask, or perhaps any other framework you would want to use. But since we're running everything here, we do not need API right here. We do everything manually. So that's it. So first name is this, and what I'm going to say, I'll say that my response is equal to add new user. So add new user, we're sending name, parameters, name, file name as well, and we'll also send users, this users here, and we're sending the entire users there. And we also want to send the database itself. So we'll send the database, and whenever we get the response, we'll print the response out, whatever response we get. So let's try and see how we can create a new file. So I would say my new file is this. The first one is name, the next one is bar, the next one is file name, and the next one there is the users, and we have the database, which is the last thing. So in order for us to create a user, we need to structure the data such that it will be easier for us to fetch whenever we need to fetch. So what we need to do first is to get the embeddings of this image. Take note that the user has provided the file name, it has provided the user's image. For instance, the user has provided my image and say, okay, I want to add this image and it's embedding. So what I want to do now is to actually get the embedding of this image. So what I'll do is that image img is equal to cv2.imread. I want to read this file name here, and thereafter I need to convert it to RGB. So face recognition actually takes RGB images, and you know from imread we get BGR. So I'll say it's equal to cv2.cvt color, and what do I need to do next? I need to pass the image, and I'll say that cv2.color underscore BGR to RGB exactly. So now what we need to do next is embeddings, so that our embedding is equal to face recognition dot face encoding. So we use encoding to get that. And what do we need to pass? Our image of RGB, image RGB, and here is gonna be the first item in the array. So that's it. Now we've gotten the embeddings. We need to save these embeddings in the database. That is our JSON database. So what I'm going to do next is to actually structure our data. So I'll say user, since it is already an array, whatever we want to do, we want to append what the user has provided, the name, the bio, the file, the embed, everyone, append it to the previous data we've had from users. So I'll say append and this, and what I'm going to say here is name, and bio is bio, and what next? Embeddings, right? Exactly. Embedding. Should it be embedding? Obviously we can't make this embedding. We need to save it as a list. So I'll say to list, and let's save it as a list, because we can't just save it the way it is. We need to save it as list, so we'll be able to retrieve it. So what we need to do next is, now we've actually appended this data into users, what we need to do is that we'll say that our data is equal to users, and our users is the users we have here. So what do we do next? Obviously we have to save the data to the JSON. So we say with open, and what are we opening? We are opening the database. That's a file name. Don't mind me, that's a file name. So it is write, we want to write as, so here is as file, and that's it. So the next thing we want to do is to say that JSON dot dump, we're dumping our data, the file, and indent. Now indent simply means how do you want it to be structured. So we want it to be structured orderly. It should indent. Like you see Python, everything is not in just one line, everything is like well indented, like orderly. So that's what we basically want. We want it to be orderly, and that's all. I believe we're not going to run through any error, but if we run through any error, we'll try and see how we can debug. So we can actually add a user, and yes, if the user has been successfully added, please return user successfully created, or you can say added. That's it. So let's try and see how we can add a user, and what I'm going to say is L if choice is equal to 3, it will break, otherwise it will say print invalid input, provide numerical value. So provide numerical value. That's it. Let's try and see how we can run. I just believe we don't have any error, and we have a database.json. Okay, let's just try. So let's run. Okay, luckily we've not had any error yet. So let me say I can't use 1. Let me test number 2, and my name is Ofyong Basi. Bio, he is a good citizen and has no criminal record. What's the file name? I want to use this. I showed you that image. Where is it? I want to use Ofyong. Yes, I want to use this. Then later I'll use this to verify. You know, those are two different images. So I'm going to say, where is it? Yeah. I'll say Ofyong.jpg. Oh, user created successfully. So let's check out JSON. Exactly, you've seen how it is. So the user has been saved, and the name is Ofyong Basi. he's a good citizen and has no criminal record. So this is the embedding. So this is what will determine if the user actually, like if the user is the same with the other user, or if the user can be recognized or not. So with this embeddings, what you see here is embedding all through. So we are saving it in an array. We couldn't have saved it the way it was, so we have to save it in a list rather. So what I'm going to do next is, now we've added one user, should we add another one user? Yes, we should, but we should try and bring this user created successfully down. And to do that, I'm going to say user created successfully. Where are you? Please come down. Yes, come down. And just going to end this, and let's see how we can verify the user. Now that we've created a user, you've seen how we've created a user, let's try and see how we can verify user. So a user now hits one and say, no, I want to verify a user. So what do we need? What we need is that we need a file name. We need the image which the person is sending from the front end. If the person was sending an image from the front end, so what's the file name of that image? We say the file name of that image would be enter file image, enter image. Let me just say enter image. So that will be the image name. I'll now say that verify. I love using response so that we can print it out. Response is equals to verify user. And what are we sending? We are sending file name, and we are sending database. I would have said let me send users, but when we are running a while loop, in the process of saving it, we might not get the exact users that we have in the database here in our JSON database. So I'm going to say it accepts file name and database. So I'll come over here and say it accepts file name, also accepts database. So database is basically the file name. It's not as if we're sending a pure database or we're sending a real database. So now we want to verify user, but before we verify user, we still need to get the embeddings of this particular image that the user is sending. So the user or the administrator is sending a new file to actually check in the list of all the embeddings in the database, and all the users in the database, to compare and see if any of them matches this. Now we have just one user, but I'm going to save more than one so that you see how it works and how it will actually filter and get the exact user that is in the database. Or if there's no user, it will return that there is no user in the database. So what we need to do, I showed you already. I'm going to say cv2.imshow, imread, pardon me, and it's still file name. So we have to convert it to image RGB, which equals to cv2.cvt color, and our image over here, and cv2.color bgr to RGB. Yes, RGB. It's RGB. So RGB is what face recognition wants and not BGR. So I'll say that my embeddings, like we did before, embedding is equal to face recognition dot face encoding, and that will be our image of RGB and the first item in the array. So that's it. And now we've gotten the embeddings. What do you think we could actually do next? We've gotten the embeddings, right? Let's get the users that we have in the database. So I'll say users is equal to fetch user, and I think fetch user accepts just database. So that's the name of the database we're sending in. And what I'm going to do is that if length of users is greater than 0, that's to say if there is any user, at the moment which we've already created a user. Take for instance, the user launched this application, and the first thing the user did was to verify. And if you proceed with this, you will definitely run into an error, or perhaps an error. So I'll say if there is even a user, if there's no user, that's what we'll have else, and we'll say we'll return no user in the database. Okay, so if there is actually a user, or there are users, what we need to do next is to actually get these users. And of course, we've gotten the users. The users are here, they are all defined. But the thing is that we can't make comparison with the embeddings and this user, because why? This users is a list of users, not just one user. So for us to do that, we'll use a for loop. We'll say that for user in users. That is it. That's what we're going to do for users and users. So I'm going to say that my result is equal to, and what do I need to do? My result, I said that face recognition dot compare face. So we are comparing the face of the embedding we have from this user with the one the user is bringing. So we could remember we had saved this embedding as a list. Now we need to convert it from a list to how it was originally. And to do that, we'll use NumPy and see we're using them gradually. So as MP, and that's it. So to convert that, I would say, first of all, we need to put this and we'll say that MP dot array of user. So yes, user dot embedding, and we are comparing it with the embedding, the new embedding that we are getting. The new embedding we are getting is what we are comparing. So this is it. Now what I would love to print the result for you to see. Results, and that's result. So I would love to print the result for you to see. I'll still write my conditional statement. So after that, if results 0, yeah, the first we get is true. If it is true, that's what we get. If it is false, then there's nothing there. So if there is actually a result, if it is true, that obviously we've gotten a user. So we'd say, oh, we've gotten a user, we are so happy. So we'd say, no, I need to bring it down first. I'll say user found, exclamatory sign. I'll bring down, I'll say that the name of our user is user slash name, and I would like to bring this down, and I'll say I'm wrong, sorry. I'll bring this down and I'll say that after name, the bar of the user, the bar data of the user is user bar. And what next? I don't want to show embedding, so we don't need embedding. Embedding is for security reasons. No need to show the embeddings to the front-end user or the administrator. Just keep the embeddings there as private data. So that's all. And I believe, okay, that's not all. Don't mind me. So if there is a user, this is what will happen. It will return this, and the loop will stop. The for loop will stop. Otherwise, if there's no user, I would say else. Do I need? Yes, I need else. If there is a user, no, we don't need else. Sorry. If we use else here, that means our for loop will stop. So I would say that return user not found. But I'd still like to break this down and break this down as well. So let's see. Let's try it. Let's try it out. And the first one I would like is 1. So now it's asking me to enter the image of Young that I want to compare. I want to compare this one. This is the one we have in the DB. We have the embedding of this in the DB. So we need to compare this and see if it's actually going to tell us that it exists or not. So I'm going to say of Young. Take notes is this one, of Young underscore new dot JPEG. Let's see. What do we get? Yeah, we got result. Result is true, but we are not getting the statement, which is here. And that means we are not printing what we get from, you see, we are not printing this. So we'll say print our response for us. Please don't joke with our response. We don't joke. So like I told you, we have true. You can see true here, and that's why I printed this as a log for you to see what we get and where is that path. So that's it. So we do not need this result anymore. You can see the result is true, and when it's false, it will also show the false. So let's try again. Let me try again, and I'll say Offiong underscore new dot JPEG, and yeah, user found. Here is it. User found. Name Offiong Basi. He is a good citizen and has no criminal record. Please, let's proceed with Ronaldo. His name is Ronaldo, and he is a good player. No, Ronaldo is not just a good player. He is one of the best players in the world. Yeah, he's one of the best players, and Messi is also one of the best players. We have a lot of them, and that's it. So what is his image? We're going to use Ronaldo first, this first Ronaldo. Then when we are done, we'll save the embeddings in the database. That's a virtual JSON database, and we also use this to compare and see. So I'm going to say the first one is Ronaldo.jpg. So user created successful. So when you come over to JSON, you now see the first one was Offiong. When you scroll down, you see Ronaldo has been saved. So the more you save, it keeps on saving like that, and everything works smoothly. So now let's try and see how we can compare the second Ronaldo. It is Ronaldo 1, right? Ronaldo 1, yes, dot JPEG. I hope I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he is one of the best players in the world. So he's not going back to get me of Young's details because of Young is the first person. No, he's getting the exact information with that person using just an image data. What image data? The embedding. Now let's try and see how we can compare Elon to any. Let's see if Elon exists in this database. So I'm gonna say one. I still want to verify. So I'll provide Elon. Here is Elon, and let's see if there's anybody that is like Elon in our database here. If do we have Elon here? We don't have Elon in our record. Let's try. So we'd say Elon.jpg. Oh, user not found. Obviously, there is no Elon Musk in our database here, and we've never gotten Elon Musk's image to be processed and saved in the database in this our face recognition system. And if you want to go next to test Michael B. Jordan, you can test Michael B. Jordan and you can play along with this. So let me try again one last time. Let's try Michael. So let's say Michael, this guy is actually good. I really love Creed 2. If you've watched Creed 2, then you fall in love with the movie. Use that not found also. So to test it finally again, let's try Ronaldo again and see. So I'll try Ronaldo 1.jpg and user found. So that's it, and that's all you need to do. Let me open Mercy, and this is Mercy. This is Michael B. Jordan. This is Michael B. Jordan. Think we have we have still Michael is one, and we have this and this. Yo, it's great to see you complete this face recognition system. And guess what? We have just one video left in the playlist, which is our AI Cartoonizer. And I'll be happy to have you on the AI Cartoonizer where you explore bilateral filter, bitwise, thresholding, and how you get to use all these things to create an AI Cartoonizer, not just for an image, but AI Cartoonizer with real time using your webcam. I'll be so excited to have you on that video. Please, if you find this useful, hit the like button, subscribe, and share.